My name is Ruth Scott. I have the easy task. I get to introduce all the brilliant speakers, and it's been a brilliant day so far, and our next speaker is no exception. This is a really interesting one, actually. This took me quite a bit of Googling to find out the ins and outs, so I'm glad that we have an expert here to speak about it. He's a Dublin man. His name is Arran Walsh. He is the Director of Customer Support and Operations Global Account at Lam Research. I sort of went through that really quickly because I wasn't sure exactly of all of the titles, but he is going to be an amazing speaker today. In short, now here's as much as I know, which is again why I don't do the presentations. The customers of the likes that Lam Research would have would be the likes of Intel and Samsung. Intel is partly the reason, I suspect, why they're based out in Leixlip. They also have an R&D centre close enough to here as well. And also then one of the chaps from Lam was trying to explain to me that any microchip that you would have in your phone right now, probably in your laptop, your tablet, they've all gone through Lam equipment. So it's almost like they're in everything that we do at this stage. So I'm very pleased to welcome to the stage to speak for us, and hopefully have a bit of time at the end for a Q&A. But if not, they do have a stand. They're stand number 6 in the events hall here today. Please, a lovely warm round of applause for Arran Walsh.
Thanks very much for coming to hear my talk today. Really here to talk about Lam Research, what we do, where we sit within the industry, and I'm sure that not many of you have heard of Lam Research previously, and I hadn't before I joined the semiconductor industry. We provide equipment to the major semiconductor fabrication companies who then provide those semiconductors chips to the electronics industry. I am the service director for the Intel EU account. So basically I oversee the operations and the customer engagement for Lam at Intel in Ireland and Israel. Okay, so during the talk here I'll have a quick video that will bring us on an introduction into semiconductors. I'll talk about why the semiconductor industry is going through a very large growth period. I'll talk about Lam as a company, and then something about the opportunities we have in the company for where we are today at the jobs fair. Okay? And there'll be time at the end for questions if anybody wants to do so. Thanks.
The rapid pace of technology has changed the way we live our lives. From the phones in our pockets and the appliances throughout our homes, to the medical devices that save lives and the satellites that explore the universe. The insatiable demand for faster, smaller, more advanced devices requires constant innovation from technology companies. And at the heart of it all is the integrated circuit. Think about it. How did the personal computers of 30 years ago so rapidly evolve into the portable notebooks and tablets of today? How did the brick-like cell phones of the 90s slim down into the ubiquitous smartphones we depend on daily? And how is it that every song we want to hear, book we want to read, photo we want to share, or fact we want to know is now right at our fingertips? It's simple. Without the rapid rate of advancements in integrated circuits, none of these technologies would exist, at least not in our lifetime, or many more lifetimes to come. That's because the improvements in the integrated circuit's speed, capacity, and cost have enabled innovations in electronics we could have never imagined just a few years ago. We owe this to a principle called Moore's Law, which predicts that the number of transistors in integrated circuits will double every 18 to 24 months, resulting in faster, smaller, and less expensive chips. It is this exponential rate of advancement that makes all of these new technologies possible, and they are unparalleled to any other industry in history. Let's compare the rate of advancement between an integrated circuit to another impactful technology, like the automobile. 30 years ago, the average processor speed was 8 megahertz. Today, processors clock in at 4 gigahertz. That's 500 times faster. If the automobile industry had kept up with the semiconductor industry, cars that went 200 miles per hour in 1983 would reach 100,000 miles per hour today, allowing you to drive around the world in just 15 minutes. In 1983, they could only fit 130,000 transistors on a chip. Today, there's room on a chip for 1.3 billion transistors. That's 10,000 times more. Along those same lines, If a car got 17 miles per gallon in 1983, under Moore's law, it would get 170,000 miles per gallon today. And you could drive around the world on just a little over a pint of gas. Finally, in 1983, a 64 kilobyte DRAM module would likely set you back $128. Today, you can get 8 gigabytes of DRAM for around $30. That's equivalent to a car in 1983 that cost $8,300. Under Moore's law, today it would only cost you about 3 cents. And that's after adjusting for inflation. These advances are the result of the smartest and most innovative minds in the industry, working together to develop new integrated circuits and the capital equipment that manufactures them. Lam Research is at the forefront of this innovation, supplying equipment and services to the worldwide semiconductor industry that makes the chips that go into the technologies we depend on, which means that virtually every leading-edge device in our lives, from our smartphones and tablets to our cars and televisions, has been made using equipment from Lam Research. And Lam will continue to pave the way for the integrated circuit to advance at the rapid rate we have come to expect, and to impact our lives in ways we cannot yet imagine. Lam Research, where innovation begins and never ends.
So there's about $2 trillion is the size of the electronics industry, and semiconductor manufacturers take up 1/4 of that industry in terms of their size, and the wafer fab equipment people that we are part of as Lam Research is about 1/10 of that at $50 billion. So on the left there you see that there's a chart showing the growth in the semiconductor business. It doubled in the last 10 years, but the wafer fab equipment market has increased by a factor of 4. So what's driven that growth? At the foundations of the industry and the main sector that we all know about would be the PC and mobile and cloud computing. The mobile market has driven a lot of apps and content generation, which has fueled further growth in the cloud sector. That, along with entertainment from Netflix and so on, has created a huge demand for servers in the cloud space. But if we go further out, we'll have the autonomous automobile, which is going to be a huge driver in the future. It's thought that an autonomous vehicle will create the same amount of data in a day as a family currently creates in a year. Internet of Things, as we look at how these devices come in to infiltrate every area of our life, especially in the home. And then further out, then we have the virtual reality, augmented reality, and machine learning. If we look back at all of the sci-fi films back in the 80s and 90s and so on, everybody knew that machine learning and AI would become a reality. It's only today, when we drive down the cost of chips and we drive up the capability, that it becomes a financial reality to be able to put applications for machine learning and AI into businesses, etc., around the world. In the video you heard about Moore's law. It's kind of pertinent to us here in Ireland. The person, Moore, Dr. Moore, he was one of the founders of Intel. And it was him and his foresight that has led to the development of the chip capability over the years. He said back in the 80s that he thought that chips would need to have the number of transistors on them double every 18 to 24 months. And because of that, when the industry has come up to roadblocks and hurdles, the thoughts of Moore have helped the industry to understand that they do need to continue to develop. The semiconductor industry is based basically all over the world. Intel, that is located in Ireland, and we service as the major part of our business here, is the second largest manufacturer of semiconductors worldwide. And for us, I suppose it's you'd imagine that Intel must have lots of plants. However, they have one plant, a development plant with some manufacturing in Oregon. They have one in Arizona, and then they have one in Ireland and one in Israel. So 4 plants worldwide to manufacture all of the chips that are used to provide and power all of the electronics that Intel are involved in. So luckily, Ireland has a very good reputation for our capability in terms of the Intel Corporation and delivery of the goods and products and services that they need, but also the people, the workforce, and the work ethic that we can offer in Ireland. And again, luckily, we have another fab getting built currently in Ireland. So the next generation of Intel's chips, the 7 nanometer technology, is going to be manufactured in Ireland. And that's why we're here today. We're going to be staffing up to support the install of all of our systems, and then for multiple years after that, the support, maintenance, and improvement and development of the new technology that Intel will be introducing here in Ireland. So Lam Research, just want to give you a big background on Lam Research. And we're basically a company that designs and manufactures capital equipment that chip manufacturers use in order to create chips and to provide to the electronics industry. So we're like, maybe you could think about it like ovens in a bread factory. The bread factory doesn't create the ovens, doesn't make them. They get people to send them, or to create them, design them, and send them in. So we sit at the heart of the semiconductor industry. We are the companies that have enabled Moore's Law. We enable all of the materials science and all of the innovation that then the semiconductor industries employ to make chips smaller and smaller and improve capabilities, reduce costs, etc. into the future. So we have a worldwide base of offices. I'll show you a slide in a moment. We have 11,000 employees. In 2018, we did 11 billion in business, and we invest 10% of that revenue back into R&D. So in order to fuel the future of the industry, companies like ours have to invest in R&D to a huge degree. So along with people who are on our side installing and servicing the equipment, there are people in the US that are designing and creating those capabilities to enable future sales of systems that are different and higher technology capability into the future. We are number 287 on the Fortune 500 lists of companies worldwide. Okay, so in terms of the industry itself, we're number 2 player for capital equipment into the semiconductor industry. And we probably have a stronger trajectory of growth than many of the others. These are the location of the offices. I've highlighted California, where our head office of the company is. I've highlighted Oregon. That's where the Intel global account team bases themselves out of. That's to line up with Intel's research and development facility in Portland. And then Ireland, where we are today, we've got 2 offices here. One supporting Intel mainly on the service side, and one locally here doing software research and development. I think everybody understands that companies will have a mission and vision and core values. And it'll be on their websites, and it'll be something they refer to every now and again. However, at Lam, we feel we're different. We have a very strong mission. We have clear vision, and that's fed down through the whole organization. So everybody working in the company will understand exactly what we're trying to do and why. But probably more importantly are the core values. We actually don't have them as a set of core values to be able to tick a box. So we're very strong on a culture that is where people understand how other people in different locations and different groups should behave and how you should show up to collaborate together. So opportunities in Ireland, there's again 2 areas where we're hiring. We have growth opportunities. In order to install systems into Intel's new fab that they're building, we're going to be, spending about 2 years with about 100, 150 people installing the systems. And throughout that and then beyond, we're going to be maintaining the systems, helping Intel to do the fine-tuning on the development of their technology, and over time then in continuous improvement projects that are going to help Intel to improve the productivity of the systems that we sell, so that makes them be more profitable over time, to reduce the costs they have of operating the systems, and to basically help them to partner in any activities they have as we go through the life cycle of the fab, which is typically around 10 years. After 10 years, the companies, the life cycle or the usefulness of that technology that they develop wanes, and they bring in another technology, probably at 2 nanometer or something like that, where the devices get smaller, they increase the number of transistors on the chip by a factor of 4 or 8, and then the economies of scale for their customers increases, and therefore the amount of an influence semiconductors can have in our world. So we're looking for engineers of all types, anybody of the STEMs, maths, science, chemistry, physics, and also some tradespeople, because during the installation of the tools there are some quite, like electrical engineering, electrical technician hookups to the tool. In general, in Lam overall, about 90% of people have bachelor's degrees or higher. So it gives you an idea of the type of company you are. We're in the high-tech space where we need a lot of people with very strong skills and capabilities. After getting some experience here in Ireland, a lot of people will transfer to other areas and take opportunities to work in the US or in Europe or different areas in the world. So there's a huge amount of opportunity for travel and, for short or long-term periods. So what we offer really is, a fast-paced, collaborative team environment with engineers and scientists working together. People will be at the heart of the data revolution that's happening at the moment. We are very strong on career and leadership development. We offer great benefits. We pay very well in terms of the locations in which we operate. And there's opportunities to travel the world. For this part of the company, we're hiring all through next year in 2020. So keep us in mind as you are trying to figure out where your careers are going to go. So really we're looking for people that are smart, flexible, and have a good attitude. We'll do a lot of the training on the things that you need to know. We'll help training career development. We'll support anything you need to know. But if you bring the good attitude and you are happy to be put in front of a customer and have an orientation towards keeping people happy, you have a desire for solving complex problems, and you can work with a team, maybe you have a desire to travel, I think you'll be a great fit for our organization. Then in the second part of the company, or the other part of the other office here, we have opportunities for software development, software tests, and that's in the area of big data, machine learning, and AI. So the normal type of plan, design, develop, and testing semiconductor equipment control systems. So that would be, trying to get the systems to work better, and also the interconnectivity of the systems, and then the connection of the systems within the fab environment in the whole process flow for making a chip. Cool. Okay, so how to apply? You can email your CV to hreurope@lamresearch.com. So we have Alexandra Morel. There's the people from Lam Research at the back. She's our HR director from Europe, and she's here today to talk to people. We're at booth 6 in the main exhibition hall. Okay. Do you have any questions from all that? There's anything that I missed?
I think you did too good of a presentation. You've told them everything they need to know. Or maybe they might prefer to ask the question. Yeah. We're finding some people like to prefer to ask the question face to face. But does anyone have any questions that they'd maybe like to squeeze in at the last minute? No, okay, not to worry. I think everything we need is there. You've practically given us your home address at this stage in terms of being able to contact you guys. It's funny, while you were talking, what struck me, talking about the development of the technology, did any of you see the film in 1995, showing my age, Sandra Bullock in The Net? Anyone? Do you remember, you saw it, do you remember at the time the technology, I remember thinking was outrageous. She was using the internet in her home and didn't need to work face to face with people, and ordered her food from the internet and never saw people face to face. There was a whole mystery plot behind it. It's a great film, like it's totally naff. But I remember watching it thinking, that can never happen, can it? And I think as well, so I saw somebody do a presentation one time where they said a lot of the things in one of the Back to the Future films have actually come true in terms of some of the technology. So it's really interesting to hear, a little bit more about it, and maybe listening today has inspired you, certainly not to me, because talking about the net and Back to the Future is not going to inspire anyone. But Arran, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for
for
your time.
sharing that.
Really appreciate it.
I know you have some of your team down the back as well there, so let's give them a big round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you.